tried to convince me it was all in my head, and I felt like it's not you, it's me instead. I wanted to rock with you,
Hard
with you. Said you was my baby girl, then you left me too.
Which one? The one? Which one?
Perfect like a poster. Then I got word that you wanna lead a picture.
Huh?
Off with somebody else, off with the jerk. With the shame on me, I really thought that it could work. Off with somebody else, off
Yeah,
with
yeah,
the
yeah. Okay.
loser. Shame on me, I really thought we had a.
Yeah, yeah.
Really, I be having conversations with myself, cause I feel like I have nobody to talk to. I be having conversations with myself, cause I feel like I have nobody to turn to. Everything was green light, now we got the red. Could've had somebody else, chose you instead. I be having conversations with myself, cause I feel like I have nobody to talk to.
Let me.
Everything was green light, now we got the red. Could've had somebody else, chose you instead. Yeah, lately I be having conversations with myself, cause I feel like I have nobody to talk to. I be having conversations with myself, cause I feel like I have nobody to turn to. Everything was green light, now we got the red. Could've had somebody else, chose you instead. I be having conversations with myself, cause I feel like I have nobody to talk to. Got up in the morning, took a shot, it's a rock. Girl, you left my stomach in a knot. Took my lighter and you burned the bridge. Thought you was a writer. No, you just an idol. You got me feeling like Big Sean in this 5, 4, 3, 2. I deserve a minute. Wait a minute. Gotta get up and over. Regain my composure. No longer my lover. Finally finished and you did it. Girl, you really showed me. Think with your heart, don't think with your body. Clever. Sorry, not sorry. Sorry, not Justin Timberlake, write me a river. Lately, I be having conversations with myself, cause I feel like I have nobody to talk to. I be having conversations with myself, cause I feel like I have nobody to turn to. Everything was green light, now we got the red. Could've had somebody else, chose you instead. I be having conversations with myself, cause I feel like I have nobody to talk to. You tried to convince me it was all in my head, and I felt like it's not you, it's me instead. I wanted to rock with you, roll with you. Said you was my baby girl, then you left me too.
Yes, global greetings. Welcome to another edition of the Topiks. Greetings, Oli. Greetings, Layamiga. Those are the indigenous names for our twin island federation known as St. Kitts and Nevis. So if you didn't know, that's the way we prefer. We wish that eventually that these names could stick and we just continue holding on to Oli and Layamiga, the two indigenous names. In the meantime, I also want to say good evening to the rest of the entire Eastern Caribbean. And good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Some one of these greetings would be applicable to the rest of the folks, depending on where you are geographically around the globe. It's a pleasure to be here on another edition of The Topiks with my usual co-host, Shabazz Bankie King. And this evening we have our special guest, Hazel Brandy Williams. And we definitely look forward to a very interesting and engaging discussion this evening. And I'm certain that you will also. So we want to continue to encourage you to follow us here on Real Entertainment Network. We are streaming usually on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch TV simultaneously. We want to encourage folks to go on over to the YouTube platform, subscribe, like, and click on the notification bell. It doesn't cost you anything, but we would deeply appreciate that you are connected every time we have a program on the air. So with that said, I'm going to give my co-host an opportunity to introduce himself, and then I will share a brief bio of my guests, and then allow her to introduce herself and I guess maybe add or correct anything that I may not have so correct in the bio. And we have a very engaging discussion. So Bankie, greetings, welcome to another edition of the Topics.
Yahsonn, greetings and greetings to our guests, Miss Hazel Brandy Williams, and also greetings to the listeners, those who tune in and choose to listen to Real Entertainment Network. And the Topics, greatly appreciate you guys tuning in. You could be listening to any other media house, but it shows that you have that interest and with our guests and with the conversation that we're having. So we really don't take you guys for granted. Remember to subscribe and share and let everyone know the Topics is on, and we're definitely looking forward for a reasoning this evening. Yahsonn, let me say this evening I also attended a meeting at the Malcolm Gishard Park on reparation. The topic was a conversation on reparation in St. Kitts and Nevis, hosted by the Repair Campaign Committee in collaboration with the St. Kitts and Nevis National Reparation Committee. Some of the speakers was Elsie Harry. You had IRI, that's IRI there. You have Carla Astafan, and you have Her Excellency. I have to get the young lady name. Get it right here. It was a very, very good reasoning there. The young lady name, Her Excellency, which is Naris Dockery. Yeah, very passionately, the young lady there represented. She worked as a diplomat, more or less, in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs for over 2 decades. So it was a very good reasoning. Sorry I had to leave earlier and couldn't stay till the finish, but definitely I'll get them to be a part of this show one of these upcoming days, so to communicate with them. So look, and to continue the conversation on reparation. So let me say thanks again for those who tuning in to Real Entertainment Networks, and again welcome to our guest. Good evening, Hazel.
Good evening.
All right, so welcome to the Topics, and we are going to give you an opportunity to officially introduce yourself. But folks, Hazel Brandy Williams is a prominent Nevisian politician and community leader who served as a junior minister in the Nevis Island administration from 2013 until 2022. She held key portfolios including gender affairs, social development, youth and sports, community affairs, and import-export control, earning recognition for her advocacy on women's empowerment, youth development, and senior citizen support. Welcome to our special 2-hour podcast. And today I'm thrilled to introduce Honorable Hazel Brandy Williams, Nevis trailblazing former politician and junior minister from 2013 to 2022, a passionate advocate for women, youth, and community welfare. She championed initiatives like the Nevis Women's Council, Special Victims Unit Against Gender-Based Violence, Youth Council, and subsidized utilities for seniors, leaving an enduring legacy on our island's social fabric. And at present, she is still involved with the youth. I am sorry that I don't remember exactly what's the name of your organization right now, but I am very impressed with the work that is being done, even though you're not in politics at this point actively, but you're still making your contribution in society. So with that, I want to say good evening and welcome to the Topics, and I'll give you the floor and give you an opportunity to also correct anything that needed to be corrected, and then if you so desire, share with us a little background of Hazel Brandy. We try to take it way back, as far back as possible, school days or growing up and all of that, and then we'll get into some of the other questions that we would have as we get into the program. So good evening, welcome.
Okay. Thank you very much, Yahsonn, for that introduction, and thank you, Bankie, for having me. It has been a long time in coming, but I am here now. I know I would have put you off quite a bit of time, but we are
That's
here.
That's fine, of course.
You left out one fundamental area, Yahsonn, Ministry of Health. A pivotal
Yes.
ministry.
Yes.
You left out that.
Yes, sorry about that.
Other
Yes.
than that, everything else, was correct. I want to say good night to the listening and viewing audience wherever you are listening us from at this time. I know that this media and this platform has become very popular over time. So I am certain that there are a number of persons who are listening us. And I want to say good night to them and welcome to this platform. I also want to say that the month of November is, sorry, why am I saying November? And it is only February. The month of February is celebrated as Black History Month. And so I want to salute the ancestors, our Black ancestors who would have built a solid foundation on which we are required to continue to build and move forward. So I say kudos to my ancestors for what they have done for us so far. Everybody, I am certain, in St. Kitts Nevis and in the diaspora would know Hazel Brandy Williams. They would have heard something about her at some point or the other. But what I would want to say about myself is that I am from a very humble beginning. I want to give credit to my work, all that I would have done in the latter years. I want to give credit to my upbringing in the church, having been associated with all the different pillars and organizations in the church. And I want to highlight the Anglican Young People's Association, a platform which helped us to be able to speak, to articulate, and to lead. So I must give credit to that organization. Another community organization that I was well involved in and entrenched was the 4-H Club. I'm not certain how many of the young persons would remember the 4-H Club, but that club, community oriented, encouraged me and us who were participants to volunteer. Volunteerism was a big thing, a big deal, a big part of that organization. And so I learned how to volunteer and how to get down to the grassroots level and mingle with those persons and learn what needed to be learned from that way up. I am a public servant, a servant of the people, and it is no secret that my platform is the empowerment of women, youth, and the elderly. And that is what I have done over the years. I am privileged of having worked in many different areas which assisted me in growing and in assisting people in those areas. And I would just name a few. Deputy Comptroller of Inland Revenue, the insurance regulator of the offshore financial services sector, budget director in the Ministry of Finance, and last but not least, junior minister in the Nevis Island administration under a CCM-led government. So that in a nutshell is who I am. I continue to serve the public. I am now a consultant, having a company known as Zana Business Solutions. And under that company, I have an NGO called Reach Me, the Reach Me Corporation. And through the Reach Me Corporation, I continue to empower women. I continue to retool and repurpose young persons, training them in the areas that are trending at this moment so that they can become self-sufficient in jobs that they might like and opportunities that are available. I am encouraging young persons to, in addition to their substantive jobs, to get a side hustle. And so I train persons in these areas so that they can have a side hustle and become self-sufficient.
Thank you very much. Quite an impressive, background. You didn't mention though where in Nevis you grew up, because I know you say a lot of people may know Hazel Brandy, and then that may be true. But we also have new listeners sometimes. We do have people from all over the world listening, and so I want to give you a few opportunity to big up, St. James's, and big up Bikil and all of that, and how that has influenced your life. The little childhood side still, that side, growing up in the village.
I am from the village of Brick Hill. I attended the Baptist preschool. I was taught by one, we used to call her Dooley. She's married to the Costa, her preschool. Then St. James's Primary School, Gingerland Secondary School. The community of Brick Hill is a very closely knit community. Everybody know the other person, and everybody would look out for the other person. One thing in particular that stands out in Brick Hill is that the Brandy family is probably the main family in Brick Hill, and from that one family, you have the offshoot. The Griffins, the Jeffers, the Maynards, Yahsonn, your family, all came from that Brandy clan. And what we have as a staple in our family, we are from a family of musicians. So Brick Hill, the community of Brick Hill, is known for its rich history in music. It is known, the very name Brick Hill comes from the fact that brick was actually made in Brick Hill. The brick and the kiln was the machine from which the brick came from and that was dried on. So Brick Hill has a rich history. Music, the home of Jogo Brandy, the ever popular kettle drum player. You had bass drum player Redman, I remember his name. And now you have the offsprings of those persons. Snowflakes Brandy, Babette Brandy, Duku Brandy. All those persons come from the musical background and of Brick Hill. I myself is now toying with the saxophone. So we want to continue with this music for generations to come. Not only is Brick Hill known for its music and its art form, Brick Hill is known for the level of respect. It is one community where respect is reciprocated. The same respect young persons are expected to have for our seniors is the same level of respect we get from our seniors. And that is a staple in the community of Brick Hill.
Well, I am very happy that I kind of nudged you to go back into a little bit of your background, because I have learned something this evening from that, because I didn't realize that the Brandy legacy in Brick Lane was so rich, to the point that you're saying seemingly they were like the main surname or people in the community, and then you have these offsprings. Quite interesting. So I guess I really do have to do some more history. I know that my father would have told me that over the gut in Brick Hill is where he really grew up, and he actually went to school in that area and so on and so. But yes, so that's a whole other bit of story that I think I'll have to get into. We will now get into a bit of like what inspired you to enter politics, and how did your role as Nevis's sole female minister shape your approach to gender and social affairs? I know you would have mentioned that you would have been involved in some of those activities going up based on some of the organizations in terms of the social and gender affairs, but what inspired you to get into politics, and then how did that role as a sole female minister empowered those aspects of the areas that you dealt with?
You know, that again is another story. I wanted to become a leader and an advocate for women rights from a very young age. And what happened one Saturday morning, I could not have been more than 6 or 7 years old. And I was awoken by the sound of crying. And when I rushed outside, there was a situation where a gentleman was beating his spouse. And, you know, the older people were trying to keep the children away from seeing what was happening. But I, being who I am, I tried to look between the feet and see what was happening. But when I listened to talks, what was happening is that the gentleman probably would have spent all night outside after on a Friday night, probably drank off all his money, came home, no food because there's no money. No money was there to cook food, and so he started to beat his wife. And from that very incident, I said to myself, I want to be an advocate for women because women aren't to be treated in that way. And that was my first situation. And then what prompted me to get into politics? I said earlier that one of my positions was that of budget director. When I became budget director, you know, we prepare the budget for the government. And so it is the wish of every government to have a balanced budget when it comes to budget day. So what would happen invariably? To get it balanced, you will cut here and cut there and cut here and cut there to make it balanced. And what I observed at that point was that most of the areas that were cut were areas that had something to do with women and children, the soft ministries, the social development and the community development and the gender affairs. Those were the areas that were cut because those were not revenue generating areas. And so it was easier to justify why they are cut. These are not revenue generating areas. And so these are the areas that were cut. And it pained me because I was the one, a part of the team, preparing the budget, and to see the areas for this vulnerable demographic being cut, I got very passionate and I said, you know what? I want to get into politics, to get around that table, because there is where the decisions are made. And if I am to make a difference in the lives of women and children and the elderly, I have to get around that political table. And that is what prompted me really to get into politics.
So based on that response, it prompted me to ask now, then I guess that decision that was made on the federal level to actually set up a ministry specifically for the aged and youth development is something that you would be very happy about and would advocate that Nevis do as well?
Definitely. In Nevis, under the Ministry of Social Development in particular, there is a department for the elderly, there is a department for family services, and then outside of that, in another ministry, there is the gender department. What needs to happen is to bring all of them under one umbrella so that, you have the more synergies working together in order for it to work the way that it ought to work. But there is indeed those departments just need to come together under one umbrella.
Okay, I am very impressed myself that the federal government would have taken that approach to not just have a department, but actually set up a full ministry to address that issue, which highlights the significance and importance as you are seeking to make the point, especially listening to what you said a while ago in terms of the fact that sometimes when the budget is being made, areas like these are some of the first where they try to reduce funding and so forth. So quite interesting. How did initiatives like the Youth Council and Creative Youth Academy help to redirect youth talent towards nation building?
The Youth Council, back in time, there has always been a Youth Council, but for some reason it fell, on rocky grounds. And so what I did when I got into that ministry was just to reinstate it. But departments and councils such as these give the young people a sense of purpose, a sense of belonging. You have to let them know that we are listening. And so to set up a department or a council such as this, you give them that opportunity to raise their concerns, not only their own concerns, but they would go out into the communities and they would find out, listen to the concerns of the other young people, find out what is happening with them and what could be done to make their lives more rewarding. Make probably there are sometimes that some young people, they don't have the avenue to express what they are feeling, and so the Youth Council is one such avenue to help young people to express and to share their views and to say exactly what is happening to them and what they want to see going forward in the future of Nevis, and how what we are doing to assist them in living their best lives. The Creative Academy was set up for young people to explore the arts. As you are aware, the creative industry is a growing industry, and just the way, for example, Jamaica, how they have commercialized their singing and their talents, we too can build an industry that can go leaps and bounds, with any other country. You look at Jamaica, we look at Trinidad, and you see the music and the entertainment. It sells. And we have young people in Nevis who are very talented. And so going down the path of building out a proper creative industry is very important. St. Kitts has a creative industry department. However, Nevis does not have one at this time. And I am hoping that there would be some linkages between the St. Kitts and Nevis factor so that our young people on Nevis could become involved in the creative industry. Just last year, I did put on a training for videography and photography. And 30 women were trained, 15 in videography and 15 in photography. And this is a growing trend. We have now seen Nevis being the capital of shooting movies. And so once they apply their art, in time to come, the persons for the media and the movie media should not have to bring in all these crew from overseas. They can choose from a cadre of persons here who would have access to that training.
Right, and I saw you actually Well, this would have been outside of politics, but very recently, I think, did some training with female DJs as well. Rest in peace, Sterling Marshall, but he was the guy who actually, assisted with that. And I am very much impressed with, some of these things that you still do in terms of, seeking to empower our people.
But one clarification, that that training has not happened yet. It was supposed to start next month in March. DJ Marshall was supposed to be the facilitator for that.
Oh,
He was so, oh man, he was so ecstatic about the idea, and may his soul rest in peace.
yes, rest in peace, my brother. Um, okay, now let's move a little bit to the women's side of things. Can you? I know you might be dragging your memory a little bit, but can you share a standout achievement from establishing the Nevis Women's Council or Special Victims Unit and its impact on violence against women and children?
Yes, that unit in particular, and I'm happy that that was created. I must say thanks, a huge thank you to the female police officer who worked with us during that time when we set up that department and that unit, right? During that time, we were able to mitigate a number of issues pertaining to children in particular. And we were able to bring some resolve to cases that were otherwise in the past either swept under the rug or wasn't given the kind of attention that was necessary. We were able to get some good results out of that. In addition to the child protection area, we were able to rescue a number of women from domestic violence. We partnered with the Garden of Rebirth in St. Kitts, her name Etsu Bracha, and we were able to send some persons to that institution where they were housed for, until they get themselves back together and back on a footing. And we were able to move other women to other locations that we will not say, for their protection and things like that during that time. But with the formation of that unit, more women came forward and spoke about their issues. And this might sound strange to you, but men came forward as well. There are men who have been abused too, right? And men came forward, and I am happy that they felt comfortable enough to come forward and share their story and seek help in the process.
Well, it is not strange, but like you said, usually men would not necessarily come forward because you know how our society is. They're gonna say that they're mama man and all of those kind of things and so on. And so there's always that kind of thing where men don't necessarily want to speak about being abused and stuff like that. But it does happen. So I don't think it's really quite strange, but yes. And I was happy that some men were able to stand up and come forward. Shifting a little bit into health, right? During the COVID, you were the pandemic, you publicly shared your vaccination experience. What message do you have today for Nevisians and health resilience?
It is very important that we pay attention to our health. Whenever there is an issue, we know our bodies. And whenever we feel a little tinge of difference in our mood, in the way our body feel, pay attention. Don't second guess it because we are not doctors. Find out what is happening with us, what is going on with our bodies. And I want to make a special call to men in particular, because men, for some reason, they're just afraid to go to the doctor. The doctor is a human just like me and you, man and woman just like me and you. But we ought to feel comfortable going and talking to our healthcare professionals. One area that I want to highlight, which showed its ugly head during the pandemic, was mental health issues. We saw our numbers skyrocketed during that period. Some persons were lonely, living on their own. Some persons were depressed, not knowing how they are going to make ends meet, because at that time, persons lost their job. Persons had to work on reduced hours, and so their finances were limited. And so you had all kind of different issues that created a situation where persons were mentally fragile. And so with this situation, we need persons to pay attention to their neighbors, to persons in your community. If you see somebody acting out of character, that is not them. That is not what they would do ordinarily. See how best you can get assistance for them. These cases are very ticklish cases, and not all of us can give advice or counseling. But if we can seek out the right persons who can give them that counseling, we can do that. Let us not continue to say that persons are playing smart or things like that. I remember about 2 years ago, I had an experience. I was driving behind a vehicle that was darting all across the road, swinging from side to side, from side to side. And to myself, I was like, this time of day, somebody's driving on our streets drunk. Anyway, I trailed them, and I called somebody from the traffic department, and they were able to alert the Newcastle police station. And so they came out. And when the gentleman pulled over, he wasn't drunk. What was going on with him? His sugar was going low. And so he had that effect on him, just tossing side to side in the road. But sometimes we don't know what people are going through, and we ought not to be judgmental, especially when it comes to mental issues.
You know, that was a interesting experience that you would have had. And as you talk about mental health and mental issues, you spoke to things like the COVID and those tough times when people were not working and the kind of thing. So sometimes people think of mental issues as just people who they call quote unquote crazy, but sometimes don't necessarily think of some of those things that you highlight. Now, I wonder to some extent if the fact that we don't pay much attention to mental health issues falls into sometimes that same aspect that you spoke to in relation to areas that are not necessarily bringing in revenue. And so as a result, enough funds are not necessarily channeled to deal with some of these social issues. You think that might be one of the cases why we are not necessarily giving the sort of attention that I think, because like I have had the opportunity to live in other countries, and I see how they seek to deal with people who are mentally challenged and so on, and some of the opportunities that they have available for them in terms of therapy and psychologists and in all of these people to make sure that they get as much treatment as possible so that they can eventually get back to functioning effectively in society.
Definitely.
But you think that might be one of the reasons?
Definitely. We don't have enough healthcare providers in that area. We don't have enough counselors. We don't have enough persons trained to deal with the mental issues. Because as you rightly said, we just look at those persons who would have really gone off of their rockers. But there are persons who are living in depression. There are persons who, have different forms of mental issues, right? I mean, I was shocked one time. I was kind of it was a program I was listening to, and when I heard of the different levels of mental issues, I myself was shocked because I thought that only those that we can tell who are walking the streets, those were the mental, and those who really flare up into that thing. But, and I will tell you, it is tough work. It is hard work to deal with these persons, and you have the persons who go into these fields are persons with a passion, a real passion, right? In the day of today, you're not going to find young persons really taking up $80,000 to go and study something in mental health or counseling. Because when they come back to their country, the most they can do with that is to, unless they have some kind of backing where they can open up their own practice, the best they can do is to seek a job in government. And it's going to take you a long time to pay off that kind of money, 80,000 US dollars. And so it is incumbent on governments to find scholarships for persons to be trained in these areas so that they can have the adequate services available in the healthcare system.
I am listening to you, right? And like, I know you personally, and I know that a lot of what I'm hearing, right? You are still, even though you're not active in politics, this is you, and you're still making sure that a lot of these things are being done. As you shared your story, which I didn't really know about in terms of your history and what got you into active politics and how you feel about helping people and community and so on, is all now like coming together and coming to a full circle here. Now, I am a bit baffled now as to why, and I guess I have some other questions, right? But I guess I have to ask this question now, because it's like, why someone with such a passion for what you do and being in a position where you could have done, well, I would want to think that you could have done a lot of these things, but then you opted to, quote unquote, walk away from that opportunity. What is it? I mean, I know you might not want to share everything, but what is it that caused you to? Because I mean, most people in your position, you know, a minister in government, your government is in power, but you walked away. You care to share, because I am really a bit baffled, so I'm just asking at this point.
Okay. I will answer like this. Okay. First, I must say that there isn't a day that go by that I don't get a call from somebody asking how you go about doing this. Who do I call to get this treatment, or who do I call to get assistance for this and that? So I am actually still very actively out there assisting persons, holding their hands and setting them in the right direction where they can get assistance, where they can get help, who they can go and talk to to allay their fears in certain things and to address their needs. I still do that on a daily basis. But in life, sometimes you have to walk away from things when they are not in alignment with your vision and your values. Sometimes you just have to walk away. When you are in a position and you are unable to do what is right and wholesome for the people, not for yourself, for the people, when you meet hurdles after hurdles and brick walls after brick walls, sometimes it becomes daunting. Not to the point where I flee because I'm afraid of, but sometimes you just have to say, hey, this does not align with what I am called to do. I am called to serve. And this does not align with that value and my morals. And so it is time to walk.
Your mic pause. Yahsonn, your mic pause.
Yes, yes. Sorry, my bad. I had to ask because, like, I guess from our vantage point, like, as I said, the average individual would be like, I mean, she's in position, she's getting a salary, she's, and to walk away from that, the average person, I know wouldn't, and so I know that means a lot to you, especially seeing that it's something that you are personally passionate about. It says a lot. Even though you have not said a lot, I find that you are very diplomatic in your response. It says a lot.
It wasn't about the salary. It wasn't about the salary because when I left in 2022, I did not have any idea as to where I would turn my head tomorrow morning. But I believe that if I am being asked to do a job, once I am not doing anything untoward, once I am not pilfering funds, once I am not misappropriating funds and things like that, I think I should be granted that space to do my work on behalf of the people, not on behalf of myself.
I'm laughing because you have me want to ask if some of this you observed was going on in the government that you were a part of, the pilfering and the monies. Yeah.
I am not saying that was going on. What I'm saying is that if I am not, if you don't have a charge against me for these things, then why not allow me to do my work?
Okay, got you. Okay, so reflecting on your 2013 to 2022 tenure, what policy changes would you prioritize if returning to public office?
Wow, quite a bit. Quite a bit. Policy. For me, healthcare is huge. Healthcare is huge. And one of the things I observed while I was in health is that we are aging at an alarming rate, and not aging because of our numbers in terms of years, but in terms of our bodies and how what you call it, able we are to contribute. Young women are coming down with breast cancer earlier. It is said that we should start doing our mammogram at age 40, or you find persons coming down with breast cancer as early as 30. Right? It means then that if the same thing with our men, we have men who are coming down with what you call that, prostate issues, at an earlier age, right? It means then that if we do not have a body that can work and contribute, it affects our social security contributions, right? And so one of the policies will be that of having health education starting in primary school, getting our children to understand the effects of having too much sweet, having too much salt, and that sort of thing, protecting their health. As I said, salt, we have more and more young persons becoming dialysis patients, and it is because of our intake from very early. So the awareness, making this health a part of our curriculum from very early, that is something that I will change. And making, for years now, we've been hearing about universal health care. None of us can pay for health care. It's an expensive undertaking, and so we must put some sort of system in place where we can help persons to take care of their health issues. Even if we have persons contribute to some sort of revolving fund starting from early. If we are to look at maybe the social services levy, I think it's 2%. If we add another 1% or 2% to that and say, okay, we put in this in a revolving fund for health issues, we have to come up with creative policies and to alleviate some of these stresses, especially in health. So that's one area.
Go ahead.
Well, if you were going to ask me about health, because I'm going to move on to another area that there might.
No, I was just thinking, like health being so significant, and as I was listening to you talking about health and the significance, like I'm going back to the comment you made in relation to, like gender affairs and youth and so on, where in terms of the money, because they're not necessarily seeing returns or getting revenue, so to speak, from health, if that's one of the reasons also why health seemingly is not given as much attention. And well, you would have been a part of when the hospital wing started, right? And we as Nevisians would think, well, if health is so significant and we started this project which is supposed to enhance our overall health, like why would you have a project like that started in 2017, I think, and we're in 2026 and not completed? Was that part of the challenge that you as Junior Minister of Health had to deal with? Seeing that you're so passionate about health and the slow rate at which this project was going and so on, like, was that one of the challenges that you had to deal with, and how did you deal with some of these things?
Okay. Yes, I inherited the hospital project, and let me first say from the onset that healthcare is an expensive undertaking, and there is an obligation on the government's part to have the right health care and systems in place. But there is also, the flip side is also true. There is an obligation on we the people to try and pay for our services. Yes, we might not have all the monies that want to pay for the services, but there is always the option of a payment plan that could help to defray the costs. The hospital wing, as I said, I inherited that project, and it was a challenging project. There were a number of things that were not laid out the way it ought to be laid out, and so we we met with a number of issues going back and forth and back and forth. But me, being the kind of person who I was, I tried to sort it out while I was there. And what I would say in this instance is, had I given the opportunity to finish it, it would have been completed.
Okay. I do have some more questions, but I think I want to give Bankie an opportunity if he have some questions for you. But before I do that, I think the people would have had some expectations. Like you got out of politics, but seemingly, apart from during the elections, and sometimes we would see a little post here and there on social media, you seemingly would have been very quiet. And I think, I'm not sure if this might be the first interview that you would have had since then. Am I correct? Yes? Okay, so why you would have been so silent, if I may ask? Is there any special reason for that?
Not really, I had some things that I had to do. Okay, I started my business and I trying to grow that business. In addition to that, I do some work for some organizations that are external. And so I am really kept busy with those, because there are three organizations that I do some external work with. I'm kept busy with those, trying to grow my business, and at the same time trying to raise two boys. So I have been kept busy. And fundamentally, because I'm so passionate about what I do and politics, I decided to step back and to look from outside as to what is happening, and to sort of balance and look at the pros and cons of what is happening, and trying to understand um, the situation of those who are on the inside, as well as the situation of those of us who are on the outside. So when I speak, I can speak from a more informed position. I can speak from a position of analysis, because I would have analyzed the situation. And so I am in a better position to give a more calculated response when I am asked.
Wonderful. And as I am going to turn over to Bankie in a bit, I'm not sure if we're going to probably do the commercials before we do that. And I realize that people are actually ready to call in. So in the second hour, I think after Bankie go through some of his questions, we will open the line for questions as well. And I will take a few minutes and say good night to some of the people who have logged in. Joy King says good night. Kevin Hanley says good night, guys. Arian Otto Heiliger says greetings all. Powerhouse in the house. Thank you so much for championing the cause of the most vulnerable. Coliander Richard says that is very true, Miss Brandy. Arian says this: if it is not aligned with your purpose, walk away. Dignity intact. So I guess people are out there listening and paying attention. And so, so I have one more question before I turn it over to Bankie. Election is coming very soon. We're in 2026. It's constitutionally due next year. Is there a possibility of seeing Miss Brandy as an independent candidate, or maybe aligned with any political party?
That's a tough question. That's a tough question. What I will say, and I will throw it out to the people.
Mm-hmm.
Do they want to see me come back, finish the hospital? Do they want to see me come back and continue to empower women? Do they want to see me come back and continue to empower our young people? Do they want to see me come back and sort out health care and continue the work that I have done? The people will speak.
All right. Wonderful. So I think we're going to leave that on the line for some of the callers this evening too. So for those of you who are going to call in, you could let Miss Brandy know if you want her back. So that could be one of the main part of the calling. And folks who are on the wall as well, the YouTube or the Facebook, please, put your comments in. If you want Miss Brandy back, let her know. And then that will determine the answer to my question. Bankie,
Yes, we're gonna go break now, Yahsonn, and then I'll come back with the question, and I can hold up the lines, and we can do all in one when we come back after the break, and give Miss William a little chance.
So now
Because she's
Miss
been
Williams
doing a
can
lot
get a
of
chance to
talking,
get some
and a
water.
lot of information. She been disseminating a lot of information. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, you have the water already? Okay.
I just listened and soaking up everything. It's been a while, so I just have to listen, so she's doing great. So, technician, we take a break and we come back.
At Shabazz Organics, we believe real people deserve real food. So we're bringing you to Mansa's Last Stop, a farm where food barriers are removed and legacy is sustained. We believe there's power in picking, so we allow you to decide what leaves the farm and enters your kitchen organically.
Beat the summer heat, come and get your carambola, star fruit, make very nice drink. You can come pick them yourself. All the trees them full of vitamin C, antioxidant, build up your immune system. Monster Last Stop, a whole shopping bag for only $10. Half a shopping bag you pay $5. If you get $2, you must get some. Come get your carambola. Don't want to go to wait. Let's go, people.
When comfort, class, and reliability matter, choose the ride that delivers more. Imperial Rides Transportation Services, where every journey is treated like royalty. From airport transfers, private events, shopping trips, island tours, and executive travel, Imperial Rides moves you in style, clean, comfortable, on time, every time. Book your premium taxi or tour service today. Call or WhatsApp 869-665-8459 or email elandflavas@gmail.com. Imperial Rides Transportation Services. Your journey, our priority.
Purpose. Remember June Brown. Thank those who are already been making their contribution. Remember to click the link, donate, so we can get June up and running again with our health medical bill. So please continue to donate to June Brown and to help out that family. It's a collective effort. We are community people, so continue to donate so where we can make this family as much happy as possible. Yes, and coming this Saturday will be the Mansa's second annual fun day at Cadesby at Mansa's Last Stop and Shabazz Organics. We remember the life and celebrate the life of my Uncle Mansa with Anthony's contribution to the agricultural sector, both in fishing and crop production. So come out and support Saturday, where you get the best meal and fish, your best soul food on the island. If you haven't tried the food at Mansa's Last Stop, definitely it's finger licking. You'll not regret it. You'll keep coming back. Also, where you get your fresh jelly water, your best mob in the house, and you get your farm tours and anything you want to know about agriculture. You come and visit the farm at the same time. So this Saturday, starting at 9, 10 o'clock till the sun goes down, the second annual Mansa Fun Day.
And we are back with another edition of the topics, and we're in our second half of the program. We are going to open up the lines for those who are going to call in. And remember, you're free to post your comment. Also, to let Miss Brandy know if you want her to come back and finish all of those wonderful things she started um, as a politician. So we will be looking forward to that and hearing your calls. But we'll give Bankie an opportunity now to, ask some questions. Okay, seemingly we have a caller, so let's see if we can facilitate the first caller. Good evening. Sorry. Good evening, caller.
Chimed into the program late and quite interesting to see the ambitious, enthusiastic of people. The guest, Hazel, rest and sleep. I am London.
Sorry. Once, could you speak a little louder? Could you try and speak a little louder? Go ahead.
Can't hear nothing, Yahsonn.
We're sorry, caller. We're not hearing you. Could you try calling the other number? Because I think maybe it's on my end. Because I think my speaker is giving me a little bit of issue. So try 662-7196. Sorry about that, caller. Yes, 662-7196. Yes. Okay. Sorry about that, folks. So the number for tonight would be 662-7196, as you recognize that I'm having a little bit of difficulty on my end. But he was going to ask something about the hospital wing. I'm not certain exactly. He was saying he was glad that you brought up that, but as he was trying to ask a question, I was not necessarily hearing it. So we will hold on for that. So Bankie, in the meantime, continue.
Okay, I want to go back at the hospital again. Hazel, I know when you was in charge of the hospital as the junior minister of health, when it come to the drawings, did you had any say when it come to is your project selecting the architect, make sure it is done the correct way, because now you end up in a situation where it making you look bad. So how was that organized? This is your ministry. So how you came to that part up to now, 8 years, 9 years later? Why can't this project be finished?
No, Bankie, as I said earlier, I inherited the project. When I became health minister,
yes,
the drawings were done. The contracts for the 2 contractors were already awarded.
Okay.
They had already started actually the foundation work. So I had no input and involvement in the initial
okay,
start of the project.
Good. Just trying to clarify. Wasn't too sure. That's why I wasn't too sure how we reached to that point. Okay. So what? So why that project can't finish? From your point of view, looking on from being in there, see what went wrong. What went wrong from your perspective, looking at the situation up until this point?
Well, there would have been some complications with the whole project, and what it meant was that you will have to sort of go back and retrace those steps and sort of go over and correct the wrong, right the wrong for the whole project. What would have been the ideal thing to do was to make it priority. Set aside some of the other projects that were financially intensive and channel that monies into the project so that you can correct the wrong. Because anything that you start, if it is a given. If you start to build a house at home, your own personal house, and something is off and you have to redo it, it means that it's going to incur additional funds that were not readily budgeted for it. So if you want to continue that project, you then have to forget about buying some of the food and channel some of that money that you were going to buy food with into the house so that you can correct the mistakes and move forward. So priority is important, it is necessary, and should have been necessary going forward.
Because by looking and by observing what's going on, when you had culture of 50, you realize the premier and his cabinet and they put on hold working in the hospital to prioritize culture of 50, and when the time passed, it's still nothing still was done again. So we keep so if healthcare is such an important, and for someone like you had the passion, you see what I mean? It shows that passion have left since you have left. That's what I'm getting at. Since you have left the passion, you take the passion out with healthcare with you, because nothing happened since. It was just been a headache since you have left. And I mean, I'm not sure if you was the one who was holding everything together at the time when you was there, because since you have left, ain't nothing going good. Everything seems to be going downhill. And the minister himself, the one who in charge of the hospital with the drawings, he seemed can't get it together, and the premier don't know where to turn. So you know, in a situation where you're no longer within your I mean, more or less, as you say, I mean, a private citizen now and doing consulting and stuff like that. What is the future, and where do you want to see? Because right now there is an area on the south side where we're gonna have it alleged, where we're gonna not alleged, because it's right now it's happening more or less. Because the premier said already the information have been sent to on the other side since December 23rd, where they want to bring in 10,000 people on the island. And then you hear the premier didn't mention this, except Dr. Joe speak about bringing in deportees, refugees. So these two situations is to increase our population. What's your views on something like that? How this gonna affect someone if you're gonna go into, I mean, elected politics again? How you're gonna deal with this situation if the people say they want Hazel to get involved?
Okay. If I might go back.
1 second. Yeah, 1 second. I think maybe even before Ms. Brandy respond to the part with the population, maybe she could give her views on the SSZ and the destiny overall while you make that response in terms of the 10,000 people, because I think that's what Bankie is actually alluding to in his question.
Okay. Before I get to that, let me go back to the hospital. One of my suggestions would be to because health is a huge ministry and it's an important ministry. So what is required is that that portfolio be given to one person and no other portfolio. When I was the Minister of Health, the only other portfolio I had was gender, right? Gender is second nature to me. And so it was not difficult to deal with gender. So I was able to give all of my time and my attention to health. And so that is what I would recommend at this time, that the minister who has health and nothing else, because it will need the full attention. And with that must come the priority of the administration, that health is what we are going to deal with over the next annual budget. Let us put maybe 60% of the budget towards health if we are to finish that project. Okay, so that's my recommendation for health. The SSZ, your question was, what do I think about the SSZ? Okay. The SSZ is a zone. It's a zone, right? There are sustainable economic zones all over. And I could speak of the SSZ in Panama because I have visited 2 different SSZs in Panama. One is where you do all your shopping, a zone set aside for wholesale shopping if you want to do business and you go there and you get all your household stuff. That is a zone set up in and of itself. And then there is the zone and SSZ, which the port logistics takes care of all the logistics, the transportation by sea and all that. These are 2 separate zones, and I was able to visit those 2 zones. The difference with those zones in Panama is that they are jointly owned by government and investors. And so government have a fair say in what happens in the zone. The SSZ that is earmarked for Nevis appears as though it is a zone that only the investors would have total jurisdiction over. That is my understanding of the SSZ that is earmarked for Nevis. Within that SSZ now is a project, the Destiny Project. And for me, what is worrisome with the Destiny Project is the cloud, the dark cloud that surrounds it. We, from the very onset, we have not had enough information to know whether or not this is a viable project, viable and sustainable project for Nevis. I am not against development, not at all. I am for development, but the development must be a wholesome development where the benefits to be derived will trickle down to the very grassroots person. One should not come and have direct access to all of our resources, and our people are not part of the beneficiaries of that project or program. The idea of the SSZ, as I said, is not, I am not against development, but I am saying that this should have had more consultation with the general populace as to what is going to happen, what this is all about. I am saying if this is a wholesome project and Nevis is about to benefit, then give all of us the good news. Let all of us know what it entails, what are we getting ourselves in, how are we going to benefit from the whole thing. If it is such a wholesome project that we all will benefit. I am hearing about billions of dollars will be plowed here. Tourism will boost. But how will this happen? Up to now, we have not seen any schematics as to what is entailed with the buildings, the infrastructure. We have not had any information with regards to an EIA as to how it is going to protect our environment. And what saddens me is that when individuals have to build a house here in Nevis, you have to first have a plan, submit it to what you call them there, planning. Planning have to tell you what you need to do in order for the plan to pass. If it's an ordinary house, then they have to tell you, what the dimensions are. If it is a 2-story house, the highest point can be higher than 20 feet or something like that. If you are doing a restaurant, then you have to pass it on to health, who have to tell you they must see how you're going to dispose of your old oils, how you're going to make your traps and things like that in order before that could pass. And I am wondering, how then has this project gained permission to pass when we have not heard of these things being done? So why are they being held to a different level of scrutiny to us, the ordinary persons on the ground? As it pertains to the unknowns in terms of port of entry, who customs and excise, security, we still haven't had enough information on these areas. I have heard that there have been exhaustive consultations, but none of these things have come out in the consultation. So I am yet to be satisfied with the level of information that we have to say whether or not it would be a project that is beneficial to us as Nevisians, and we as Nevisians going to be able to benefit. Infrastructure, there must be access roads, and the access roads must come from the island, the government's island main road, because I'm certain that the only entrance and exit won't be from the seaside. So who would be responsible for putting in the infrastructure, attaching that infrastructure to the government infrastructure? And we're talking about roads, water, electricity, cable, and that sort of thing. We have not heard any information with regards to who would be responsible for those sort of things. Putting 10,000 persons on Nevis, yes, we need numbers. But putting 10,000 persons on Nevis, all in at the same time, would have some concerns. The due diligence is the only criteria that you can afford to buy one of these multi-million dollar condos. Is that the only criteria that persons would be hold responsible to in order for you to be a part of this enclave? What is the criteria for persons who have criminal records? Who would do the due diligence? I have a lot of concerns.
And as I listen to you, I think that you share the sentiments of many Nevisians. However, seemingly the views and opinions of many Nevisians are at this point being ignored. And some of the things that you highlight in relation to the fact that, okay, for example, such a major project that is supposed to have such a large impact on our society, yet majority of the PRO that is being done in relation to the project is being done by the government. And we have not seen, so to speak, and I say we because in relation to the encounters that I have seen in relation to the developer, there was a meeting, and I think it was via Zoom as well. It wasn't like a physical meeting that he had with selected people on the island. And then there would have been the interview that would have been done here on this platform. Other than that, I don't recall of any public, whether town hall meeting or anything to engage or try to get a buy-in, so to speak, from the developers. It has only been our elected officials seeking to try to get a buy-in. And I would even say try to get a buy-in because seemingly, even though there is not a full buy-in, they seemingly, for whatever reason, are hell-bent on just doing whatever it is. And so with a lot of these questions, because some of the questions and concerns that you have are shared by some of the persons who are listening this evening, and I'll go through some of the comments before I get back to you, Bankie. Angela Doe says, good night all. I'm enjoying Honorable Hazel Brandy Williams. Hazel, please make this show a regular option. All the very best to you, Hazel. I believe you can finish all those work you started. So you have somebody giving you full support there. We have on the YouTube platform, Sherry Ann Richard says, good night, everyone. Palsy Wilkins says, good night. Birdman says, that's right, Hazel. Tell them. Bubba Love says, blessed night to everyone and big up our honorable queen, Hazel Brandy Williams. Bubba Love says, start the things. We need to know what could have caused such a monstrosity. And I guess that was probably in relation to the hospital wing. Birdman saying, a still tongue keeps a wise head. Bubba Love says, I would love to be a part of her team. Lofton Pemberton says, greetings. Great job. Great job, her Honorable Hazel Brandy Williams. Bubba Love says, are we dealing with an issue where there's a misuse and abuse of project management funds? And I guess probably that was in relation to the hospital wing again. Oliver Leibert says, good night, Bankie and Yahsonn, all just coming in the house. Bubba Love said, does the SSZ have its own court system? Is my only concern. And see, not even that we are certain about at this point, right? Stoneman Williams says, so true. And he said, they came like thieves in the night. Jessica Jarrett says, well said, Mrs. Williams. That is so true. That dark cloud is scary. Bubba Love says, they came like thieves in the day and the night. Set of scamps. Think we're really stupid. Bubba Love said, I think we should allow the people to decide via an election. Stoneman Williams says, land owners were excluded from everything. It was a rumor. So, and Woodland Hill says she's tuned in. So, Bankie, I just wanted to share that, and I'll give you back the opportunity to continue with Miss Brandy.
Yes, Yahsonn, what is interesting is that within this particular zone, as the Premier mentioned, I mean, it seems like they won't be paying any taxes. They will have all these concession, all these duty free, and all these different craziness going on inside there. And us, the locals, the natives, will be paid with all this high tax, because the Premier figure, well, since they're going to put in their own road and their own infrastructure, it balances out. I don't know how that can balance out, where the government itself can even do the road themselves, public works, they have all the machineries. But at the same time, why couldn't that same area could be used as the natives and the landowners and the government itself partner with the landowners to develop that area? We build it and they come. Why can't that be done? Even, okay, let's say even partnering with the developers, not with this type of development where they want to bring 10,000 families to have a HOA, is a housing, it's a homeowners association. That's what the gentleman said. So we not look, that is not giving no kind of work to our people. And then he's seeking, because what bothers me is the Premier keeps saying this guy is a billionaire, some crypto whatever billionaire. But yet the gentleman telling me he going to seek your land for 1% or whatever it is. Then he going to find developers to build what he want. He want the housing development mine. And but he can't build it himself with all the money they got. They want to look for other billionaires to spend their money for what he want. That's the madness. And then they're going to use our money, sell the CBI again. So you see we're going along with this line. So you're not going to help the landowners then to be a part of the investment. You don't want to spend your own money, but you're going to find other people. So this is only a Ponzi scheme to me. So how does this? Because this. So how can something like this, Miss Brandy, benefit the people when you are relying on the people resource to build what you want? Explain. Help me see this is true.
At this time,
Bankie,
you
before
cannot.
Miss Brandy respond, right? Before Miss Brandy respond, because I understand that this is how some of these corporate people work, but the part that bothers me, is the fact that our elected officials sat and have these conversations and meetings and would have had no consultation with us to make us any wiser. These things, and like I mentioned earlier, we had no opportunity, or I should not, let me not say we, the public had no opportunity to have these sort of open engagement with the developer. These things we only found out because we had the opportunity to interview the main person who is a part of the development and were able to ask these questions. So just imagine if we didn't get that interview, and here we are, where the premier has said, even without any other further discussion after that interview as well, where some things came out, that they have agreed and they have sent it to the prime minister since the 23rd of December, even though in his New Year's message to us, he didn't even tell us that that was done. So, Ms. Brandy, you can continue to respond, but I just wanted to get that in and to follow up on where Bankie left off with that point.
Okay. As you rightly said, investors, what they do, they spend other people's money. They don't necessarily spend their money. So when he said that he's going out there to look funding, that is what they do. What is of concern though, and I go back because I said it before, is that we don't know the scope of this project, right? What is of concern to me is that persons would have voiced their concerns at the town hall meetings. And since the town hall meetings, nobody has come back to say, okay, we put forward a list of 15 items. These are, 15 issues on the whole project. And so the people would have spoke out against issue number 7, 10, 14, 12. And we have changed those issues from the that the people would have been against. Nobody has come back to say that we have made any amendments to the document that was presented. So clearly, we understand that our concerns, the concerns of the people, were not addressed because nobody has come back to say we replace clause number 3 with which said that they will control their own customs and excise tax, and we have replaced that by saying, okay, government will have its operatives there to collect govern. So we don't know if our concerns were taken on board, and that rightly so. We are aware that nothing has been done because just how they presented it is probably just the way they have signed and sent it off after quote unquote exhaustive dialogue with the people. Something Bankie said, and I wanted to go back on, and it has just slipped me. But the whole project I don't know. It needs to be repackaged if it is a wholesome project and bring to the people and let the people look at it and discuss what it, because we definitely need a large investment to boost the economy, right? Oh, I remember what you said, Bankie, in terms of enabling. The government's supposed to be an enabler, right? And perhaps if something was done in terms of bringing the landowners together and say, okay, hey, there is a project that could be done on this side. You are a landowner and we are trying to engage you in order to develop the land and have these condos available to these people. That probably would have been an option as well. There are persons who own lands in this area who could have or have the means of getting financing on their own. The same way this developer has to go and get financing to develop. Some persons who have lands in the area are business people. They are well known in the region and in the diaspora, and they themselves could have raised the necessary capital once they would have come together and do so. The government should have been the enabling agent to bring these landowners together for them to raise their capitals and develop the lands.
Good,
You know,
very good point, Yahsonn.
some very good points. And as she spoke,
But
some things, pop out for me, like the level of disrespect and disregard that is being made out to their bosses. Because I think that, it's issues like these, I think, should highlight to us, the masses, the powers that we truly have, and really understand that these people who are seeking to claim that they're making decisions on and behalf of us because they have been given a mandate by the electorate, so to speak, but are totally disregarding their responsibility to consult with us as a people. And I find the level of disrespect, not just even with this project, because as we look at this project, you said something about revamping the project, Miss Brandy, Miss Williams Brandy, or Brandy Williams. But how could we consider a revamp to something that we haven't even really seen? And that's what I'm saying, because we really don't know what is in it. So we know we have some problems and we have some concerns which have not been answered. Like you mentioned, if they had a list of things that they say, okay, well, this is what the people were saying and we address this or we need to address this. We never had that. So there wasn't a follow-up after the town hall meeting where people say, okay, we're not for this project. And so you have no consultation with us. And then you have the example, for example, look at, and this is present and this is active, the fair share situation. Here is it that the premier, over the past couple of years, election and so on, complaining, Nevis saying getting fair share and fair share and fair share and fair share. Then the prime minister said, okay, look, we're going to get an external body to look at this fair share issue. So they got the World Bank. The World Bank put together this report and made their recommendations and suggestions and so on. This report was passed over to the Nevis Island government sometime either in March or May last year. They would have looked at it. They said they had a couple of issues. I guess sent it back to Sinkich, and from the premier's, and he's saying that it is not his responsibility to share the report. It is the federal government's responsibility because he didn't ask for a report. But at the end of the day, though, we are at a point where we have not seen the report. All we are hearing is that they made some agreement with some 25%, but we have not seen the report. Why have we not seen? Why is something like that hidden from us, the people? And so this level of disrespect that is being meted out and continued, I think it is time for us to, and I think this issue in itself has brought that to the fore, that we as the electorate and the masses need to hold our elected officials, our highest paid servants, civil servants, because our taxes they're being paid with. They work for us. They're not our bosses. These are things that I think they are not our bosses. They use reverse psychology after being elected to make us feel like they're the boss. They ain't our boss. We are the boss. And until I think we, the masses, begin to realize that and stop allowing them to divide us on issues that should not be partisan political issues, but should be issues of national concern. And I think we, the masses, need to get to a point where we're able to differentiate that. Where we disagree from political sides, or we disagree with an issue because it affects us nationally.
Just want to remind the journal, the listeners, if they want to take part in any question to Mrs. Brandy, is the telephone number is 869-662-7196. If you have any question for Mrs. Brandy, you can continue to send your message on the wall. And yes, and what I want to follow up on also is that a development of this magnitude, why don't you have a team of people, the investor, the owners, all those who have an interest here in front of the people, they can see them, it's tangible, not just behind a screen and stuff that don't make no sense. Something of this magnitude, you should be glad to be here amongst the people see moving around, not just, and then why hide a project like this and say you're gonna lie and nobody know about a project like this? So my following question to you also about the MOU that the Prime Minister spoke about, because there's a lot to talk about when it comes to importing deportees. I mean, we're seeking housing for our own people, because the government in Nevis is not building enough housing. I mean, they went out, they were where they stopped. You could have get access to the Land and Housing Corporation. We could have, those who can't get the land loan from the bank, they could have just make the payment through the corporation, stuff like that. No, you're now going, we're going the food, can monkey eat up 60% of the food, can go over 30,000 plus monkeys in a Nevis. But we're going to bring in the next 10,000, which is 40,000, 50,000 people, along with the next set of MOU with deportees, or they call it refugees. What your take? And because this again, the Premier and the Prime Minister had to know this thing happening, but nobody attacked, another secret again. So this was not discussed again. Because the Premier mentioned, well, I like to go to America, and what I going to do when I can't go to America, so we're not going to choice. That he was just blunt with that. Just blunt. The Premier say, why I going to do how I can negotiate with America? So you just bend over and get home by Trump. So that's so simple as that to go. I mean, I understand that.
All right. I want to just go back one last to the SSZ city and the project, the Destiny project. And this is a major concern, and I have not heard anybody mention it really. Yahsonn said, all we have heard, all we see, the team that we see promoting this project is just the government. But have you stopped to ask and consider that in all this, we have not seen a team from the Ministry of Finance, the gatekeepers for our financial system, the persons who hold the zipper or the straps to our purse, a part of this whole system. They are the ones who would have been best able to do an assessment on the entire project and then report to us the pros and cons, the benefits, what we will lose in the process. But we have not seen or heard anything from the Ministry of Finance. They are absolutely mute at this time. And that is a major concern.
But the Ministry of Finance call in and the Premier show Wednesday night and give a blessing. You know, hear the preacher call it and the Premier show Wednesday night. That's the Ministry of Finance. You know, nothing wrong with the project there, you know. You pan team Barabas. That's your problem right there.
Minister.
Your panty Barabas. The minister, the minister of finance don't call in and give prayer. The Lord don't send him out with the vision to get the blessing cause your bad mind this beautiful project. Well, I don't hear the preacher say all these things. But I also can't hear the preacher say Wednesday. You go ahead.
On a serious note now, right? Like, okay.
You can't go serious than this.
but
talking about
in relation to something that Miss Brandy highlighted a bit earlier too, because you see, you in one of your statements you spoke to the fact that the planning Ministry of Planning is not necessarily playing a pivotal role in this project either, at least from what we are seeing and hearing, because they should have been, and the people for the EIA and so on. But one of the things that, and I guess this is why maybe people are having some questions, and not just people like average people like me and you who have no law degree and have not been in government and so on, but even some of these lawyers and, you know, prominent people who would have been in government and so on, spoke to the SSZ and the amount of power that is given to the Premier and the Prime Minister. And that is one of the reasons why seemingly they don't necessarily have to go through them, because how this SSZ is set up, it is set up in a way that at the end of the day, the buck stops with them. And so even if they don't go through those things, as long as they say yes, it goes through. So that's where we are right now. That's why the Premier can just send the project and say, well, okay, I gave it the blessing. And then if the Prime Minister now say he gives it his blessing as well, that's it. Unfortunately, well, I don't know if it's fortunate or unfortunate for some, but on the Syncit side, the federal government have opted to use, which is one of the issues I had with the SSZ as well. And I asked the Premier when he was on our platform, because I know he's a lawyer, why in the case where the government and Syncit now have opted to set up that independent body, why in their writing up of this act that they said you may and not shall have that body? Because shall would have mean that they have to. And I guess in our case in Nevis, the Premier has not, because it's not a shall. He may. He said he wrote to, I think, the opposition people, and I'm not sure where it. But however, that group should, and I guess that's what the Prime Minister would have done on his part to kind of help to buffer that, what we are speaking about, that he has set up the group, and that group now will look at the project and be able to critique it, so to speak, before it is given approval. And so that's why I say it might be fortunate and maybe unfortunate for some, because maybe on the Nevis and it may look as it is a stalling progress for them and so on. But I would have want to think that personally that should not have been a may, but it should have been a shall.
Yes.
But you could continue responding.
I agree with you, and I think the Prime Minister would have done the right thing in terms of setting up a technical team who would further drill down into, you know, the feasibility of the project, and will be able to inform him, because he's a medical doctor. He does not have an authority on all the areas, and so you need that technical team who will do the unearthing of, you know, whatever there is to find out, and so that they can advise you as to, you know, whether or not this is a viable project to take on. It is sad that our technicians are not involved at the level that they ought to be involved in this project. It is a concern that they are mandated by law, because the what you call it, the legislation that governs the public works and and those people, not public works, the planning, those are legislation that pass through parliament, and so they are legislation to protect them and in the job that they do, but they are not allowed to do what they are supposed to do. They are legislated to legislate us, the locals, but they are not legislated to legislate the investors, and that is a sad situation.
That is something that is concerning. However, a lot of these things we have not gotten an opportunity to talk through and debate through as a people because of just lack of consultation. These people don't see it necessary to consult with us, the people, more and making decisions, serious decisions that's going to impact the rest of our lives. I'm going to go through a couple more comments. Stone Man said they are all a set of scoundrels. Booba Love says, time to release the big drum. Janice Carty says, join with you guys from out of Anguilla. Greetings, Janice. I think seemingly you're a first-time listener. It's a pleasure to have you. Hope Greetings. You are back with us and you make it, all we want to encourage you to do is click on the notification bell, subscribe to our YouTube platform, and make sure that you're here every time we have a program. Tekel Selassie says, disrespect. 2,400 acres of land can bring over $40 million USD between 4 to 6 months with one crop. So I guess he's showing that we could have utilized the lands differently and make it beneficial to us. Okay, let me read the last comment here. Bankie, big up team Barabbas. Anyway.
Yes, sorry.
No, as I listen to this, I know we can spend the rest of the evening talking about the SSZ because it is something that is critical and so on. But your view on, I guess it kind of ties in here still because we're talking about the population. Now, we hear the argument from politicians, and it's seemingly not just a St. Kitts and Nevis thing. I'm hearing it regionally because I'm hearing other Caribbean countries speaking to the increase of the population and so on. Some are talking about people getting more children and all these kind of things and so on. One of the things that I kind of have a challenge with in terms of, let's say, St. Kitts and Nevis specifically, because now we're talking about this Destiny project. Why is it that we are so willing to give an opportunity to a project that is going to be bringing in possibly over 10,000 families? And when you say 10,000 families, a family mean it could be 3 or 4 or 5 people in that family. So you're not just talking about 10,000 people. You may be actually talking about 50 or 40,000 people, right? But in the next breath, we have regional integration, and we're talking about Caribbean single market and economy, but yet St. Kitts and Nevis is not ready to sign on for regional movement, and there is the pushback even from the premier. I would have heard when that issue was brought up, he spoke to Haiti and looking at Haiti with a population of how many millions of people, and what if even a certain amount of people decide to come, and the kind of strain that is going to be on our infrastructure and all of these things and so on. So seemingly there is a bias because you want the population to increase, but seemingly you are looking for a specific demography to fill that gap. What are your thoughts on CARICOM regional integration and us seeking to open up that door instead of looking outside? Because sometimes when we think of Haiti, right, we because we are being programmed with the Western and Americanized version of Haiti, we don't realize that there are a lot of millionaires and billionaires and skilled people and so on in these communities. We only look at the quote-unquote poor people who are maybe going through what they're going through, without even sometimes looking at why they're going through what they're going through, and that's a whole other story. But your
Yes,
thoughts
let
on?
me take this call here.
Okay, hold the question, Miss Brandy, so that we could get back to it. Yes, Brandy, go ahead.
Caller, good evening.
Yeah, good evening. Thank you, man, and to you and the guest, Yahsonn. I'm on live already right now.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, I wanted to ask a quick question because I know you guys are running out of time. For the guest.
Caller, hello. The call cutting off. So, hold on there, Yahsonn. Hello.
Yes, man, I got dropped there, man.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
back. Yeah, good evening.
Yeah, next call keep coming in. Caller, go ahead.
Okay, good evening, Bankie. I'm on, right?
Yeah, but the next call keep cutting you off. That's what's happening. And next call keep cutting you. Go ahead.
No problem. I'll have a little patience. Don't worry. Let me know.
Yeah, go ahead. Speak. Go ahead.
You could hear me, right? Yahsonn can hear me, right?
Yeah, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Yes,
Talk. Go ahead.
just go ahead.
Okay, good evening again, real quick. Back to the SSC. A quick question. During all of the discussions, right, with the SSC and the Destiny Project, there were times when I guess the Prime Minister and the Premier were trying to show it's a separation between these two things. It's a separation. The law itself, I guess at some point, my understanding is that they were trying to say the law itself don't have anything to do with destiny. You cannot group them together. So my question to you guys, especially the guests, is that we see how the Premier is adamant in pushing this stuff forward. Is there any chance, not because the Prime Minister put that ad hoc committee together, does it dawn on us that at any chance that Destiny Project can go forward regardless of the Prime Minister putting that ad hoc committee together? Because of the fact that they're trying to show that the law itself is separate from the Destiny Project.
But the Premier answered that question. The Premier answered that question already. Because if somebody asked the Premier that question, he said, if the Prime Minister don't sign it, he can't do nothing because certain things like security and stuff like that would have to go through the federal government. The Premier did said that when he listened to the press conference. Somebody asked that question already.
Okay, cool. All right, okay, thanks a lot.
Yes.
I'll leave it there for now, man.
All right, thanks.
Somebody's coming. Thanks
Yes. All right. Go ahead, Yahsonn.
Yeah, so just back to your views on the CARICOM regional integration and looking at it in relation to what we are seeking to do in terms of increasing the population with the Destiny Project. I guess they would argue that these people have money, but we can't even say that because based on what we would have heard here, that they're looking for investors to come and invest in the project. So what are your thoughts in terms of us and regional integration and allowing our CARICOM brothers and sisters through? And I'm seeing that we're, and this is African History Month too. So your thoughts on that?
All my life, I would have heard about Caribbean integration, and we have not got it right even now. Remember when we had was it the Associated States, when the big states, and then when one of the government had said 1 from 10 leaves 0, and that sort of thing. We tried back then, and up to now, we still haven't gotten it correct. We are making an assumption that the investors who are coming in, they are coming in with bags and trunks of money. We don't know exactly what they have and what they don't have. And as I said earlier, the 10,000 families who will be coming in, we don't know what baggage they will be bringing because it would appear as though no due diligence checks would be done on them. With regards to the MOU that we have signed on to, that too it's a travesty in the sense that something like this should have been discussed with the people. It is simple. I believe that the Prime Minister could have put it out there. People, this is what we are faced with. And, we are faced with what we are faced with. America is America. It is big America. And there are certain things that we can't pass. There's something that some things that we can't avoid. For me, huge is corresponding banks. All corresponding banks are in America. We cannot facilitate trade if we don't have a bank through which our trade must come. And so if we don't do what Big America says, there are a number of things that they will leverage on us. However, this could have been handled differently, discussions. And this is my suggestion in terms of dealing with this. What if the CARICOM countries could have come together? And as I said before, Caribbean integration has not happened. Caribbean dialogue is not happening. Caribbean communication is not happening. Had they come together and represent us as a bloc, it would have been a better showing rather than each country doing their thing in isolation and in silos. My thing, each country could have gone to its people. Listen here, this is what we are faced with. How can we deal with this? Then you select, let's say, 10 persons from each country to form a think tank. And you put them to come up with how we should respond to this travesty to America. And then you flesh it out by now, then pulling all these countries together. Everybody bring their 10 persons and we lump them who have similar issues. We lump them in one category, and who have other issues, we lump them in another category. Because mind you, some of us, our situations are same or similar, right? So we bring our think tanks together and we hash out how could we face America and how we can bargain, in all this and make our position even better. That would have been a more viable option than for each of us to be negotiating on our own. And so what America is doing is just dividing and conquering as we go along. Yes, we know that Haiti has its issues, but we ought not to just ostracize them from the region and say, okay, we don't want them, because everybody has their baggages to bring. And so when we might be taking persons from some other country, they come in with the same baggage that somebody from Haiti might have been coming with. And so that is why I'm saying a think tank of persons coming up with ideas as to how we can better deal with this situation would have been a better option than going it alone and making so many missteps on the journey.
Bankie, you have any other questions? Because we as simple as it is, we would have gone through the almost 2 hours. See, yeah, Miss Brandy, it doesn't seem so, right? But that's what I told you. We're gonna just reason. We're just reasoning. So you're right. But any other questions, Bankie, and then we probably would give Miss Brandy an opportunity to wrap up. But yeah, go ahead. Your mic is muted. Your mic is muted. Yeah, I'm not hearing you. Not hearing you. So you're probably having some challenge there again. But okay, while you're dealing with that, as we're wrapping up, Miss Brandy, looking ahead to 2026, what's the one bold vision for St. Kitts and Nevis social progress, you think?
Can you hear me?
Okay, yeah, we're hearing you
Yes.
now.
No.
Wait, sorry about that. I mean, I'm up in what call it, Mount Everest, where it's cold, so maybe everything acting up right now. But as Mrs. Brandy just spoke about, why couldn't they come to the people? That is the most realistic thing to do, my virgin. And if the people decide, let me try with belly, and as the CARICOM come as a body and say this is what we're gonna do, then America have businesses throughout the Caribbean the same, in all these countries the same way. They have people who have invested heavily, so it's gonna affect their people too. It's a balance. Their people travel come these places. You see right now how cold the place. They're going to come down here. The cool way they stop. It's not always a one-way streak. Our leaders put it over to us as if it's a one-way streak. Yeah, they're gonna come with but at the same time, Mrs. Brandy have the perfect and ideal concern and empathy with the people, and that is what police supposed to do. Come to the people with this kind of decision, and the premier ain't say nothing, and the prime minister ain't say nothing. Yes.
But Bankie, watch here.
Uh-huh.
This is what they probably told us. But let's be realistic. You think these guys didn't look and see what America did with Venezuela, with Maduro? You think these guys would want America to come for one of them? They man want to hold on to power too much. And this is part of the problem that we have with CARICOM. The egos. Everybody want to hold on to power. Nobody would want to concede their sovereign power, so to speak, to be a part of a unit like Batcher would have done. Because remember, Batcher would have given up leadership and left it with Southwell just to be I think he was the finance minister in the West Indian Federation. That you have to have a kind of vision to want to take on that kind of level of responsibility from a regional level. And I am not seeing that from a lot of those people who we are electing in St. Kitts and Nevis and around many of the other Caribbean islands, sad to say. But Ms. Brandy, you could respond to that? Yes.
I just want to say that making a decision to speak more and be more transparent with the people, I don't think that would affect their leadership. US did not say to the Caribbean, today for tomorrow, I'm going to cut you off. I am certain that they got ample notice. And all I am saying,
Yes.
what you needed to do is to come to the people and say, this is the situation that we are in. We can't escape the situation at this time, but this is what is the situation. We need an all hands on deck approach, and we need all the great ideas as to how we can tackle it together. And that is all we are asking.
And Ms. Brandy, I am in total agreement with you. So my comment wasn't really
course.
so much on that part of your response, because that's exactly what we need to do. I was just going based on what Bankie was saying in terms of the leaders and why they allow America to, and I'm just saying that is one of the things that they look at. They tell us that about America, and so that's the excuse that they gave us. But we know that they look out for their own personal interests, and that's all I was trying to highlight. As we wrap up, that question in relation to the bold vision for St. Kitts and Nevis social progress as we look ahead in 2026. And well, I'll put this in the final part as well. For aspiring podcasters or entrepreneurs in our audience, what is your top advice on community organization and leadership?
Okay. Bold vision for 2026. According to UN ECLAC, it is projected that the economy will grow by 1.7% for 2026. That is low, almost non-existent. It means that we have to brace ourselves for recession. What we have to look at moving forward, we have to try and develop some of the economies that are dying, almost non-existent. I'm talking about areas such as agriculture and fishing. Fishing and agriculture, we must pay some attention to that. Tourism is fickle, but if we want to compete at that level, we must be able to produce or to bring something different. Everybody is selling sea, sun, and sand. We have to look at something different. Heritage, tourism, something different to make us stand out. We have to see a greater thrust in financial services. We were once a financial service hub, and I'm not certain what is happening in that in that in that industry right now. I'm not getting a buzz as to what is going on there. And so we need to revisit financial services and put some financing into that and push it for us to get back to where it was. And we have to look at renewable energy. It is something that has been tossed about for a long time. We have to put greater energy into renewable energy. And the same way Bankie said earlier that we could have organized the landowners in such a way that they themselves can sell, can market themselves in terms of raising the capital, building their own condos and selling them. Perhaps if somebody is creative enough, we can look from within to see if we can raise the funds for geothermal. Mind you, it is an very expensive venture. But if someone could be creative enough to see how we can have persons invest in our geothermal, perhaps it might be easier on us, because to every entity out there who wants to harvest our geothermal, they are going to go with the lion's share of this, our natural resource. So we have to come up with creative ways of growing our economy in 2026 and beyond. And these are the areas for me that stand out for us to really look at. You asked me a last question, Tafari. I can't remember.
Yeah, the last question was for aspiring podcasters and entrepreneurs in our audience. What's your top advice on community organization and leadership?
You have to build your brand. As you're getting into anything new, right? First of all, you have to be confident with what you bring to the table, what you have to offer. And once you are confident enough, you have to build your brand in such a way that you stand out from the ordinary. And so I would want to encourage our young people to be bold, to take risks early, set yourself apart by trying new things and being intentional in everything that you do.
Thank you very much, Miss Brandy. I thoroughly, we would say within Rastafari, full joyed this true conversation, because we ain't conning anybody either. So it's a true conversation, not a conversation. But I really, honestly, thoroughly, full joy the engagement. And I am, as we are going to wrap up now, I am going to ask of your willingness and openness to be back on the platform, seeing we made you so comfortable and so, welcoming. And we are so welcoming. Will you be open to coming back? Because also too, based on some of the questions and the topics that we haven't even really touched on as well too, but I'm going to go through some of the last set of comments. Like for example, Sherry and Richard saying, I truly enjoyed the authenticity of the guest tonight. So there are people who really thoroughly enjoyed the conversation, and we could have, when you go back through after this session, you could go through YouTube and you could go to Facebook and check on the comments and so on, and you'll see that, yes, the people really need you back. Troy Sadio says, peace and blessings, brothers and sisters. Booba Love says, the financial service industry is being directed away from our treasury. Lynetta Daniel says, nice job, everyone. Burlby Jones. Okay, so there was a question you have there. Is Miss Brandy going up for elections, local or federal? Will she be on the ticket representing any party? I guess you probably got in a little bit late. I did ask a question, and she did say that if the people want her, so let the people know. So we actually was asking for people, whether it's on the Facebook wall or the YouTube, and or to call in to let her know if you want her to come back to continue, finish the hospital, finish what she was doing in terms of gender affairs and the elderly and youth and empower women and all of these things. So if you want that, that's what she was saying. So even if the show is finished, you could place your comments, and so that when she go back to look at the comments, then she'll get an idea of where you are with that. Jetty Taylor says, okay, well, but I missed some of these comments a little bit earlier, so I'll go back to the copy. So Deacon Owen Jeffers says, I live in a HOA here in the United States. Gigi Williams Skeet says, blessings everyone. Jetty Taylor says, bless up. Gigi says, good question, Yahsonn. Jetty Taylor says, Nevisions only bang their mouth, and Mark knows that. He says nobody has a stone an empty mango tree. But Jetty Taylor saying, so much dove me don't knock out an empty mango tree. Me tell him. And he laughed. But Burlby Jones says, CARICOM leaders failed the people. They had America good, and they dropped the ball. Even after the people had given them great advice for unity, they failed to do that. We only needed unity and to speak as one voice, one block of CARICOM, and America will have had a difficulty. Instead, Caribbean leaders bowed to America again. We will never get America in a position like that no time soon. Again, he said in regards to CARICOM, because we have the chairman now and the meeting scheduled in St. Kitts for CARICOM leaders, I personally believe since we have the citizens of these Caribbean CARICOM countries, we should take a stand to represent and do some picketing outside the venues when these meetings are held this month on St. Kitts. The show would discuss dissatisfaction with these leaders concerning their current issues. He said, I must say whoever put the capital up for these capital projects are going to own the country. Both islands, geothermal can come, but they are waiting for this Destiny project to kick off because they are planning to link geothermal to the cryptocurrency Bitcoin man. We locals will not own any entity in the Federation. Calvin Wilkins says, too many dead folks on the list. Okay, and these are some of the comments as we wrap up. I wanted to try to get in. We have really gone over time, and I know our technical team, would definitely want to get some rest and so on, and some family time. So, Ms. Brandy, I'm going to give you an opportunity for your closing remarks, and we definitely, again, want to thank you for, after you would have mentioned, putting off Bankie for such a long time, that you really you made the decision to be here, and I'm hoping that you fully enjoyed it and you are ready to come back the next time Bankie say, yes, Miss Brandy, we want you back on the platform. So we're going to give you that opportunity for the closing remarks. Thank you again.
Thank you very much, Yahsonn and Bankie, for having me. I must say, Bankie, thank you for being persistent. I put you off long enough, but you were persistent. And I said, you know what? I will not keep him waiting any longer. I will just show up. And thank you very much. I truly enjoyed the session with you this evening. And as you said, you made me comfortable with just reasoning. And I really did enjoy it. I just want to say thank you very much to the listening audience who would have been listening and who commented. I want to say in parting, that I continue to empower women, young people, the elderly, because I believe that our youth and women in particular need to be empowered to become leaders in whatever area they so desire. When a woman or a youth are at the table, we get more balanced decisions. And so as we continue to strive for greater community development, I just want to empower our people to live in peace and harmony, be there for each other, and just let us create a community where all of us succeed and all of us thrive for the greater good.
Thank you very much. And Ms. Brandy, in relation to your response to the last question in terms of, podcasters and so on, we definitely here on Real Entertainment Network platform will take your advice and has taken your pitch very seriously. And, as we are about to wrap up, again, I really want to encourage, everyone to log on to our YouTube platform. And I want to comment and say as well, Miss Brandy, sometimes I look at the numbers, and sometimes when we have the show, sometimes people come in and then they drop off. But for this evening, all who were on are still on, even though we are saying that we are leaving. And so, which means that you definitely have had our listeners listened in and locked in. And I am really, really happy for that. And we do want to welcome you back. Seemingly, I don't know if you're a little mic shy or whatever, but we want you back, man. You sound good, and I think you could really give some more response to some of the issues that is happening, not just on St. Kitts and Nevis, but we didn't get to touch on some more regional issues and international issues and so on. And so we definitely want you back. So thank you very much. Thank you, Bankie. Thank you, Real Entertainment Network, Ira, and the rest of the Real Entertainment Network team. And we do look forward to having you with us again on Friday when we have another edition of Everything Agriculture. So until then, see you guys. Enough love, guidance, and protection, everybody. Okay, well, we're still here, so I'm not... Okay, I see they clicked, so which means our technician should be ready to take us out of here, so...
With myself, 'cause I feel like I have nobody to talk to. Everything was green light, now we got the red. Could've had somebody else chose you instead. Yeah. Lately I be having conversations with myself, 'cause I feel like I have nobody to talk to. I be having conversations with myself, 'cause I feel